Welcome to this video about round 7 of the Chess Olympiad. I'm catching up here with my coverage, and the 7th round was played on September 4th, so as the video is uploaded here on the 5th, it's from yesterday. And the 7th round had a couple of really high profile clashes here on top. Russia beat Azerbaijan with 3 draws, and Grishuk winning over Safali. Pretty nice strategical game. Also good to look at if you're interested. Armenia actually a bit surprisingly lost to China, with Movsesian being defeated by Wang Yu and 3 draws. Hungary played a surprising 2-2 against the Philippines, who really put up a strong performance here. Ukraine beat Spain, with Vasily Ivanchuk scoring an important win on board 1 and 3 draws. And for the German spectators here, Germany beat Moldova in a very important match to keep contact with the medal places, 2.5, 1.5, with wins by Jan Gustafsson and Igor Chenkin, and a loss by Georg Meyer, but as mentioned, compensated by the 2 wins. So Germany is still in contention for some top ranks. I'm going to present, of course, one game of this round, and it's not off the absolute top boards. There have been some interesting games, but I simply must show this game. It's a nice fight between Grandmaster Laurent Fressinet from France and Grandmaster Emil Sutovsky from Israel. If you watch my channel constantly, you might remember an amazing game that I featured recently between top women player Anna Muzichuk and Sutovsky playing black, which was one of the most amazing tactical battles that I've seen recently. And Sutovsky is really a player to watch out for spectacular chess. He's simply not able to play a boring game unless it's really, sometimes happening by accident, but usually you're into fireworks, watch Sutovsky. He's playing black against France's top player, Fressinet. And let's see what happens. He opens with 1 knight f3. And Sutovsky is the Grunfeld expert, so he tries to go for the Grunfeld, but Fressinet chooses his entire Grunfeld, so we only have this kind of version, which is similar in strategical content, but still somewhat different, as White hasn't played d4. Here White has really a ton of moves at his disposal. Fressinet plays queen b3, which is interesting. One simple point is, okay, this knight is attacked, obviously it needs to move. You can also protect it, but this looks rather passive, a move like c6. And black cannot really play the usual capture, because queen c3 is a very embarrassing move, as the rook is now attacked in the corner, and black needs to play this very ugly move, or rook g8, which he also probably don't want to play. At least it looks very weird. So black taking is not really the way to go. He went back with knight b6. And now White occupies the center. d4, bishop g7, and e4. So it is really a Grunfeld type of position after all. Black now played bishop g4, immediately increasing the pressure on the d4 point by attacking the knight. Here White chose an interesting move, which has become fashionable lately.
Check.
This check on b5, which provokes black into some reaction. He cannot play the desired move knight c6, as now White can play d5, and it's maybe not completely clear in terms of losing a piece, but it should be fine for White. So he more or less needs to go for this move. After which White has an interesting possibility. And also the move that Fressinet played, he played knight to g5, immediately attacking f7 and ignoring the fact that this bishop is attacked. So black castled first here, and now white retreated the bishop, and in this funny way initiates a trade of these two pieces, but the bishop wasn't able to trade itself for the knight, so that the d4 point is strengthened in a way. After this, the e2 knight protects the pawn. If white returns with the g5 knight, then his center is nicely protected. But this whole maneuver has another point actually, and we see this in the game. Sutovsky now develops a piece with knight a6, and this is rather an interesting way to develop the knight, but it's a good one. It prepares c5, and also knight b4 is possible at some point. Obviously not at the moment, as the queen is covering this, but we see white plays this long queen move all the way to h3 and simply threatens checkmate. After this, knight b4 is indeed a source of counterplay for black. So the knight is more active here than, let's say, on d7. Alright, but white simply threatens checkmate, and what should black do? Not much choice. He moved this pawn. A move like h5, you always have to consider, maybe not right away, but even consider a move like g4. It might get very interesting. Oops, no, this one. Simply threatened. Black can try this kind of stuff, after which white has multiple ideas. He can take, which is not bad, but you can also try to play something like this here, and continuing to attack the king. Very unclear possibilities, but what Sutovsky played, h6, looks much more logical to me. So h6, white retreated, and now queen d7, attacking in a way this queen, so that white doesn't have the time to capture on h6. If you would take now, black can first exchange and then win the piece. So this way he covered h6. Yeah, and white of course doesn't want to exchange queens. It doesn't make so much sense after you move the queen so often. So queen here, and still attacking h6. Yeah, now black doesn't have a real choice. He went for h5 now, but in the meantime he has overprotected the g4 square, so that white cannot go g4 immediately. And yeah, here in this position, white in fact has a choice to make, a very important one. Either to really burn all your bridges and go for all-out attack, or play in a normal sort of fashion. White could just play a normal move here, let's say castles, or maybe a bit more aggressive bishop g5, attacking the pawn. And I think white is perfectly alright here. Let's say rook e8, castles, and I guess this position should be around equal. The center of whites is nice looking, but it cannot really advance at the moment. I think this position should be roughly equal. Black here has also the chance to get the queens off the board, which usually helps him. So this would have been the normal kind of continuation. But the player from France here really went for it. He went h3 in this position, preventing queen g4, and also simply threatening or intending to play g4 and break up the king position. So really in for a fight, and okay, he found exactly the right opponent to make a real firework out of this game. So black played c5, immediately seeking for counterplay in the center, and this is certainly right. g4 as planned. There's no really no going back really. Once you played h3, you really need to go for it. So g4, black took. He Could have also played knight b4, would have been interesting also, immediately threatening this move. But I don't want to make this an hour-long video. It's easily possible here in this game. Okay, he decided after g4 to take on d4, which is also quite sensible. You also have this d-pawn now as an attacking unit. Yeah, so white took h5. And yeah, here black had a choice. He played d3, which I think might be inaccurate, but obviously this is a so complicated position that it's really hard to tell. So this was played. Probably knight c5 was the better move to get this knight into the game more quickly. It is still very complicated. One point of this knight move is that actually taking now is bad for white, because after this there are immediate threats on f3 and knight d3. So if white now would play as it was intended to do, knight g5 with the mate threat, then black can actually yeah, attack first, and it gets really ugly. Something like this here.
Check.
And it turns out that white
Check.
only has one check, and after this is pretty much over. And now all kinds of material is hanging, and black is the one with a huge attack. The problem also is, where should white go? I mean, if he goes here, I can simply take this, and white still doesn't have any good place to go. So this knight c5 move would have prevented the taking on g6. In the game we played d3 first, and now white took and played knight g5. And of course now there is no direct counterplay with the knight d3 maneuver. And yeah, okay, white threatened the simple checkmate. So black needs to move this rook to make some yeah, some room for the king. He played rook f6, which is I think the only move which he could play. Now white went knight f4, getting this piece into the attack as well. And yeah, now it gets really dangerous for black. He played queen to d6, which is probably the best move. The problem here is if black plays yeah, a move like knight b4, let's just put one on the board with this idea, then white executes his idea, knight takes g6, and this is just winning. Immediately threatening the checkmate. Or black can also give a check, it really doesn't matter. It's still the same kind of idea. If black now takes, which he needs to do,
check,
then we have this position, and this is actually resignable. f7 is simply not yeah, not easy to cover. What should you do? I mean, this one
check
is answered by the check,
check,
winning the queen. Or if he goes here, you just win all kinds of material. So this is the problem. In this position, black really only has the move in the game, queen to d6. And here I think it's the key position of this whole game, where white could have played much better than what he did, but this is really yeah, super difficult to do, as the move that is best here according to computer analysis is not really a move you would I think consider so yeah, so heavily. He should have played actually just castles. Despite all this, castles is the best move, with the idea to quickly use your rook against this d-pawn. And as far as I see in the analysis, this is basically winning for white, but it leads to variations which are for human over the board really super tough to assess. One possibility is, for instance, knight to c4 here, to which Knight d5 is quite strong. White just continues to attack, and even if black wins material in this fashion, it's still a super huge attack for white. Here white can just bring more pieces into the attack, and black really doesn't have any good defensive opportunities. For example, check. Something like this gets very ugly, and I just did the right line? Yeah, I did. Check. Sorry. Something like this. And what should black do now? F7 is just checkmate. He can play something like this, the only move that prevents immediate checkmate, but then white has all kinds of stuff. Even this kind of move is possible. The idea being to go here or possibly to F4. And as you can see, check. This wins the queen, and you've got a deadly mating attack on top. So castling really was the right move, but it's insanely difficult to calculate. And also, if you look at Fressinet's move rook g1, it looks completely logical, putting this rook into use, and it's super tough to play this position. Yeah, black played knight c4, and by the way, white is not severely worse here, most probably. He still has got an interesting attack going. Knight d5, and here Sutovsky played the strong move knight b4, getting now both knights into attacking positions, and really getting huge counterplay also with the d-pawn. Yeah, here white had an alternative. He took on f6. Check. It also would have been interesting, maybe better, to play this move, gaining a tempo on the queen, and this leads to some really crazy lines. For example, e5, knight takes f6 check, queen takes check on h7, king f8, and now white can even sacrifice more material to break through, and something like this, for example, leads to a very complicated position. It's probably good for black, but it's not completely easy. Oh, I'm sorry. I simply butchered the line here. Takes, and now first black needs to play. Oops. Yeah, rook takes. Black needs to play this first, of course, because there was this threat, and this in fact seems to be good for black. But all these lines are really super complicated. So bishop f4 here in this position was a serious alternative. What he played was okay though. He took on f6, and this is, of course, I must say I did some analysis of this game, obviously, but it is very complicated. I could easily overlook something, or didn't give the computer enough time to calculate it, probably. I think this move was still okay, queen f6, but now in this really complicated position, white I think made the decisive mistake, but it wasn't at all easy to figure it out. Probably he needs to play a move like king f1 here, and try to play something like this, getting the king into relative safety and just giving up a piece for this pawn. This pawn will win material anyway. This was probably still playable. What he did is rook g3, and this is, I think, losing, but very difficult to work out. Yeah, Sutovsky played the check on d2, bishop takes, and knight c2 check. And here king d1 is the most obvious continuation, and also the move that Fressinet played. Alternatives also fail to impress. If he goes, let's say, for king here, get this problem.
Check.
And black will, win with a checkmate even in a couple of moves. So this was basically the only idea. And now the cool move rook d8, going for counterplay on d2. Already a really spectacular position. White now played e5, trying to get the queen out of the f-file, so that queen h7, rook f3 is a stronger attack. Yeah, black first
check.
Took this with check, king c1. Yeah, and what did black play now? The queen's hanging. There's queen h7 check in the air, rook f3 in the air, all kinds of stuff. And what did black play? He didn't move the queen, he just played the very aesthetic move knight d4. And the point being, if white would now capture the queen,
check.
It's
checkmate.
A very beautiful checkmate here, accomplished with 2 knights and the rook. Very, very easy on the eye, this checkmate. Very nice. So white cannot take the queen. So what should he do? The problem is simply this mentioned mating idea, and white really has only one move to prevent a direct disaster, direct mate, is to take the knight. And first you might think, okay, this isn't too bad. If black now would take on d4, you just take here, and this position isn't clear at all. White is an exchange up, but black has some compensation. But it's totally irrelevant, this line, simply because after queen takes d4, Sutovsky played the amazing move, just queen to c6, and he threatens checkmate. Queen h1 with checkmate to follow, and this is simply a square that it's not possible for white to cover. The only idea to do this is maybe a move like this, but after this move, black can simply take here, and the rook is attacked. This is the threat on b2, with all kinds of nice lines. Let's say he takes here.
Check.
Yeah, at first you even think it might be checkmate, but there's the rook covering it. So this is not working, but you can simply take here, and this will get lost. Yeah, black is probably winning in this position even. Also, because it's not just the taking that is threatened, but also rook d1. Yeah, a couple of really cool lines here after the really cold-blooded queen to c6. Also note that white cannot even give a check on d8 because the rook is protecting this. So there's simply no move, as the queen is also hanging. You can block this here and simply take the queen. So white at the end needed to take. There was not much else. He needs to sacrifice the queen to get out of the immediate disaster. King d2, bishop e5. Yeah, and after all this complications, we actually got a position with equal material, but that's the only thing that is really equal in this position. The main problem is that the bishop is very strong on e5, exerting pressure over the whole board, and white's king is wide open, and this is the main point. Bishop and queen here will attack this king and also win a couple of pawns in the process. White really is lost here. He played rook here.
Check.
Black could give the check in the center, and now captured b2 and a2. So this is 2 pawns up, and white really couldn't prevent this. The pawns and the whole structure was simply too open and too loose. And white continues for a bit.
Check.
But at the end, Black won this fairly easily now by pushing the a-pawn. In fact, after a5, Fressinet already resigned, which seemed a bit early. Maybe he also overstepped the time. This is possible. After this this game, if you look at this game, it would be very much understandable. The clock here says minus something, minus 350. So maybe he really lost some time. But okay, the position is also winning with the a-pawn, supported by the bishop, is simply too strong. Yeah, I think a very attractive game with this amazing move first, knight to d4, and with the point queen takes on d4, and the blow queen to c6 now, intending the checkmate, and now attacking the queen with a winning position for black. Yeah, very nicely played game here by Sutovsky, who as usual had a very he had some difficult moments in the game. If you play so sharply, it can happen, but it was simply too difficult to play correctly, and at the end black's initiative really here won the point with the temporary queen sack. Yeah, Sutovsky is really a player you should look into if you're into wild tactics and interesting attacks. He's maybe the sharpest player there is. He's even a bit more, sometimes, at least at times, a bit more into the complicated stuff than Shirov. Yeah, okay, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this game selection of round 7. There have been some other cool games, but I like this one. It was really spectacular with knight d4, queen c6 as the tactical points of black's play. Yeah, thanks for watching.